PC gamers have an absolutely loaded lineup of upcoming exclusives, from shooters to horror games to RPGs, it's all here. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the top 15 upcoming PC exclusives. Let's get right into this. Number 15, Scorn. Scorn is an atmospheric first-person horror game. You're thrown and isolated inside a dream world where you explore different regions. From the footage we saw so far, the game really sets a tone of eeriness that is hard to come by these days. With real horror experiences being few and far between, Scorn is something to keep an eye on. It's expected to release in 2017. Number 14, Quake Champions. Quake is finally back, but it might not be what you were expecting. Quake Champions is a hero-based shooter much like a lot of other games these days. It's a change of pace for Quake, but it'll still retain the fast-paced arena-style shooting. It's too early to give a definitive answer about the game, hopefully it turns out well. Number 13, Lost Ark. Lost Ark is one of the most technically impressive games you'll see around. It's a lot similar to games such as Diablo and Torchlight, but games like those have never been known as technical marvels. That definitely isn't the case with Lost Ark. It's got some amazing particle effects, a high level of detail, and some grandiose boss battles. Lost Ark is a Korean game. Who knows when it'll hit stateside? Hopefully we see it sometime in 2017. Number 12, Of Kings and Men. Of Kings and Men is an indie multiplayer medieval game set in the 13th century with both European and Eastern influences. You play in a massive open world engulfed in conflict. There's a lot of variety in Of Kings and Men's gameplay, from fighting in 1v1 duels or being part of a battle with over 200 players. There's constant warfare in the game's world. Medieval games have been getting more and more popular, and Of Kings and Men is one with a lot of potential. We don't have an exact release date yet, but sometime in late 2016 or early to mid 2017 makes sense. Number 11, Pray for the Gods. Pray for the Gods is an indie action survival game with gameplay inspired from Deus Ex, DayZ, and most notably Shadow of the Colossus. When you look at Pray of Gods, there's a lot of resemblance to SOTC, which is definitely not a bad thing considering that's arguably the greatest PlayStation 2 game of all time. In Pray for Gods, you start in a frozen island with nothing. You're tasked to find items and survive in the harsh weather. You'll also have to fight enormous bosses by climbing on them. Think of Pray for the Gods as Shadow of the Colossus with modern survival elements, and that sounds like a winner of a formula. Pray for the Gods is currently on Kickstarter, where it has reached $236,000 of its $300,000 goal, and it's still got 19 days to go, so they'll definitely reach it. Number 10, LawBreakers. LawBreakers is a multiplayer shooter being developed by Boss Key Productions, a studio headed by Cliff Bleszinski of Gears of War fame. The game has an emphasis on utilizing gravity in combat. You'll be able to jump very high, move very fast, etc. Considering the market is filled with multiplayer shooters, hopefully the gravity mechanics will help it stand out. LawBreakers was originally scheduled to be a free-to-play game, but the studio has decided to move over to a pay-to-play release. The game is set to release sometime this year.
Or swing through the sky.
Jump into the shadow! You have picked up.
Number 9, Rising Storm 2 Vietnam. Rising Storm 2 is the sequel to the Red Orchestra 2 expansion Rising Storm, and obviously this entry will focus on the Vietnam War. From what we've seen so far, the game seems to be shaping up very nicely, and the guys over at Tripwire seem to be nailing the setting and time period, which is expected. Rising Storm is much more of a tactical shooter compared to the majority of games, and the style works really well. We don't have an exact release date for Rising Storm 2, but hopefully we'll see it by the end of this year, if not early next. Number 8, Tyranny. Tyranny is an RPG being developed by Obsidian Entertainment. They've worked on some awesome games such as Fallout New Vegas, South Park The Stick of Truth, and Pillars of Eternity, so you can tell their track record is pretty good. Tyranny is an extremely unique RPG taking place in a fantasy world. An overlord has taken over the land and you play as the Fatebinder, one of the overlord's higher ranked soldiers. Your duty to travel the world and maintain the overlord's rule. So in terms of premise, it's very different from the majority of RPGs. When making your character, you choose how the world was taken over by the overlord Bannerlord and the Fatebinder's role in that. Those choices you make in the beginning will determine the state of the world and how NPCs react to you. It's a very complex game, hopefully it delivers when it releases sometime this year. Number 7, Escape from Tarkov. Escape from Tarkov is one of the more ambitious games you'll come across. It's a story-driven first-person MMO. Obviously, as the title suggests, the game takes place in Tarkov, a war-torn city, and you have to cooperate with other players to discover the secrets behind the city and find a way out. There will be a lot to explore in the city, from its suburbs, citizen blocks, military bases, the heart of the city, and so on. You'll have to get the best weapons and make sure your character is healthy at all times. If you die, you lose everything you found, but you can organize backup kits for insurance. Escape from Tarkov is a very promising game. We still don't have an exact release date, but hopefully we see it soon. Number 6, Dreadnought. Dreadnought is a combat flight simulator being developed by Jaeger Development, the guys that were actually behind the excellent Spec Ops: The Line. Dreadnought is obviously a very different game than Spec Ops. You're captaining gigantic spacecraft and battling. There are various ships to pick from, each with their own set of advantages and drawbacks. The game involves a large amount of strategy, and positioning is one of the key elements. Obviously, this is also a very good-looking game. Dreadnought is expected to release this year.
Built for survivability and for causing massive damage. It's all over when one of these maneuvers alongside an enemy and delivers a broadside. The Dreadnought is the heavy...
Number 5, Divinity Original Sin 2. The first Divinity Original Sin was a fantastic old-school RPG that didn't really hold your hand, but it had an awesome story and some great gameplay. Now we have Divinity Original Sin 2, which looks to be following the same general formula of the first game, but there are some new inclusions such as a 4-player co-op mode. Just like the first game, Divinity Original Sin 2 was help-funded via Kickstarter. They reached their goal of $500,000 in less than 12 hours. The final amount collected ended up being over $2 million. Divinity Original Sin 2 is set for a release in December of this year.
Of the game. And development in Divinity Original Sin 2 will be focused on maintaining the same feel while expanding on the things that you can do and the challenges you'll be encountering. We're going to try to bring you more skills.
Number 4, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3. Warhammer Dawn of War is finally back with its first new entry since 2011. The game takes place when a catastrophic weapon is founded in a mysterious world. War is raging and the planet is under siege by armies filled with greed. You'll be able to take control of gigantic machines and prepare for colossal battles, the most epic in series history. The campaign itself will tell the story of 3 factions, the Space Marines, Orcs, and Eldar. Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3 releases in 2017. Number 3, Civilization 6. When you talk about strategy games, one that's synonymous with PC gaming is Civilization. Civ 5 was one of the most successful games ever on Steam, and this year we're getting the next entry, Civilization 6. Civilization 6 will once again follow the turn-based formula of past games where you grow your small civilization to as far as the entire planet. There are several new elements to Civilization 6, including refinements to city designing and making a less cluttered map. The game's release is not that far away, it's set to come on October 21st. Number 2, Star Citizen. It seems like every year PC gamers are talking about Star Citizen. It's been one of the most anticipated games for such a long time now. If somehow you don't know about Star Citizen, let me get you up to speed. It's a space sim consisting of so many different mechanics. The game is set in an MMO persistent universe. There's exploration, first-person shooting, mining, and so much more. The game was crowdfunded with over $110 million, which is absolutely insane for a video game, and the single-player Squadron 42 features the likes of Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, and so many more. This is a massive game. Who knows when it'll finally be released? Hopefully sometime soon, because we've been waiting for so long.
Weapons powered.
Finally, number 1, Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. Mount and Blade has become one of the PC's most prominent series over the last few years, and every year it seems to be gaining more and more steam. Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord is another entry in the series, and it's taking it up to a whole other level. Now there's an explorable world with so much life, and the amount of detail being put into the game is staggering to say the least. From the visual department, it's a gigantic step forward from Warband, and the gameplay is being refined with better AI, better user interface, and more variety. We still don't have an exact release date for Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord, but hopefully we see see it before the year's out. So that wraps up our countdown of the top 15 upcoming PC exclusives. What do you think? Which games are you the most excited for? Comment your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.